Hello, all you wonderful people. We are ENSO, a community-driven indie game studio, and we welcome you to our very first game-focused developer update. But what is ENU? It's a 2D Metroidvania platformer with a unique rotation mechanic. It has loot-based character progression, and it's set in its own very mysterious world. And today we want to talk about the progress we made in the last weeks. The topics today are going to be the player controller and the rotation, our first internal playtests, level design, narrative and art, and a little glimpse into the future before wrapping it up with our ENSO updates.
So first of all, we should start with our core mechanic. What is our core mechanic? Well, the player, so you, are able to rotate the world around you by 90-degree intervals. You can walk on the walls, on the ceiling and on the ground, and the side on which you walk will always be on the bottom of the screen, so you won't get confused. So what did we achieve in the last month according to our core mechanic? Therefore, we created a rotation wheel where you can choose each side on which you want to rotate by clicking a button. We also discussed with our community in our blogs and on Discord whether we should pause the game while rotating, but we discarded this point because of our co-op system, which is yet to come, because it wouldn't be that nice for your co-op partner if the game pauses when you want to rotate. To add a little bit of spice, we also can, or you can also adjust your rotation and change it with our bonus system. For example, you can alter your rotation speed, you get additional boni while rotating, or have better abilities after rotating. Speaking of abilities, yes, the rotation has also an ability attached to it. We decided to bind the ability of the rotation to a button. So after you rotate it, you can press a button in order to trigger your ability. This feature gives you the possibility to have more control over your ability and when you can use it. So this sounds like it's very confusing while playing, but we want to make the environment interact with the rotation, so you as the player won't be confused while rotating your screen.
What we also achieved this milestone was making the player controller. For a platformer, of course, it's really important that the player controller is smooth and has its unique settings. Therefore, we take a lot of time focusing on making that player controller unique and smooth. Even a normal player controller isn't the easiest thing you have to do in a game. But with the rotation mechanic we have, it's even more challenging. The gravity we can't use the world space gravity, so we need to set up an internal physics system for our player. And we didn't, or we used the rigid body, but without gravity, and then we had to look, okay, when the gravity is how set. And it's not only with the gravity, it's also, for example, with the jump or anything else. You have to set it up really carefully. Another part was that we make a kind of editor. We make the inspector of the player controller easy to use for the game designer and also with as much possibilities as possible. This should make sure that the player controller in the end will be really, really unique. What we also want to see in this playtest is how the player reacts to the rotation mechanic. Is it too complicated? Does they have motion sickness? Or maybe they have orientation problems? All of that we will see.
So let's talk about something you might be interested in, our narrative, for example. Where does our game take place? I tell you, don't worry. For example, there's the ephemeral world. It's like the human world basically, where beings live like us humans. Somnials, they're called. And they're mortals, they're basically just like us, not quite humans, but similar. And next to this, I say, more normal world is the Evervale. And the Evervale will be the place where our game takes place, where you see all the locations, all the biomes. So what is the Evervale, you might ask? The Evervale is like a spiritual world that coexists beside the ephemeral world. So contrary to the ephemeral world, where all the living beings are mortal, in the Evervale, all there is are immortal beings, like immortal spirits, immortal creatures. And this is a big point in story and the narrative in our game. One kind of immortal beings that live in the Evervale are the Whalekins. The Whalekins are the main species, which are also the main character, which you probably saw at some point here next to me, And yeah, the Whalekins are basically like guardians or wardens. On the other hand, there are the Nevershades. These are pretty bad guys. You don't actually want to mess with them. Basically, the Nevershades are like a hive mind, brainless creatures, monsters, you would say. And they literally hate the Somnials and everything that is mortal. Like, they don't like the idea of the weakness a mortal being have. So, there are our enemies in the game.
Our first big ENSO update is that we made an exhibition game for a job exhibition. We have done this with Decipher. It's a company next to our office. On this exhibition, we showed our game and we had a lot of fun together with the Decipher team, with us. It was a really amazing time. Therefore, we think about a bigger collaboration with Decipher. This could help us creating our games on our own terms without the need of a publisher, if we could make more of these exhibition games with this collaboration. We also went to the Gamescom LAN and we had a lot of fun there. And we also created our first ENSO streetwear hoodie. You can buy it.
Let's talk about our social media updates. What is new? What have we done about last month? We definitely improved a lot with our content in general. We learned new techniques, how we post things, how we edit things in general. All of us are getting better in every field with the posting on every platform. One point we noticed and is definitely getting a lot better is our short video content, which we post on nearly every platform, I guess. We plan to do more stuff like that, more short-term content, which is more likely to be seen by you. If you want to talk with us, the devs, more in depth about game mechanics, games in general, you can always come on our Discord. It's a growing community that is very welcome of every new member. We'd like to see you on there soon.
A glimpse into the future. We forgot to actually record that part, so we are here in a little bit of a different setting, on a different day. But we still wanted to give you, like a little glimpse into the future, what we're working on, what's coming next. So first of all, the itemization. We also call it the gear skill system. It's heavily inspired by the Diablo itemization. But we don't want the items to just alter skills, but we want them to be the skills. So they are highly gameplay altering. So when you're finding a new weapon, it just gives you a completely new ability and changes your gameplay a lot. We already started to set it up in an editor, but it will take a lot of time because there are a lot of dependencies in the whole game that needs to be taken care of. And but we think it's worth it to put all the effort into the system because it's one of the main parts of the game, and will also like keep the community big and help growing it, and yeah, it will help a lot with replayability. Yeah, the goal with the whole system is to make it as complex as possible without being complicated or overwhelming for the player. Also, we want you to be able to upgrade all these items you find, but we don't want to just increase the stats. That would be boring. We want them to be, yeah, the player should be able to customize all the items or abilities in the game even further with upgrading. We don't have a lot of details quite yet. Probably it will work with like runes and rune carving or rune weaving, how we will call it in the game probably. Also classes. We want you to be able to play different classes, but we don't have the resources to really create 10, 15, 20 classes for you to choose from. So we decided it would be fun for you to create your own class. So yeah, you can mix and match all the stuff you want for your perfect class. But yeah, also not a lot of details quite yet. We're still in the concept phase. Also what we did is we set a foundation for co-op. This is nothing you will as a player see in the near future, but it's something that's really important for us to have in the game early and test behind the scenes as early as possible and implement it. So when you guys are ready to play it, it's smooth and it works really well.
Yeah, and that wraps up our first developer update for ENU. We are incredibly excited about the progress and even more sharing it with you guys. So yeah, feel free to join our Discord and get in contact with us and just give us feedback on what you wish in our game. And thank you for tuning in. ENSO out.